first speaker is Michael Bruno, who is Provost or Chief Academic Officer at the University of Hawaiʻi at Mānoa. Prior to coming to Mānoa, he was Dean of the School of Engineering and Science and Professor of Ocean Engineering at the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. Michael was also a visiting professor of mechanical engineering at the University College London. His research and teaching interests are important. They include ocean observation systems, climate change, and community resilience. Very well published, more than 100 technical publications in various aspects of his areas of research expertise, and also a book published in 2018, no small feat when you're running a university, The Urban Ocean, published by Cambridge University Press. Let me introduce Craig Howe, who many of you already know. Craig is director of the Center for Biographical Research at Mānoa, one of our key flagship journals at the university, co-editor of Biography and Interdisciplinary Quarterly, that's the journal I'm referring to, professor of English, and current MA student in Hawaiian language, which is pretty cool. He's president of the Monkey Waterfall Theater Dance Company, a wonderful title, and serves on all sorts of boards, including the Hawaii Literary Arts Council, Kumu Kahua Theater, and the Hawaiian Historical Society. Co-producer of the Biography Hawaii television documentary series and the Aloha short series of Hawaii Public Radio. He's also co-edited The Value of Hawaii with John Osorio and our third speaker today, Noelani Goodyear-Kaopua, and I think also Aiko Yamashiro, I believe also, and is co-editing the forthcoming Hulihia volume of this series, The Turning, which will be relevant to today's conversation. Finally, our last presenter, very, very important, Noelani Goodyear-Kaopua, born and raised in Hawaii, and is professor and chair of a very important department, political science at Mānoa. She teaches Hawaiian and indigenous politics, very well known and very well published. Her books include Seeds We Planted, Portraits of a Native Hawaiian Charter School, A Nation Rising, Hawaiian Movements for Life, Land, and Sovereignty, Not Wahine Koa, Hawaiian Women for Sovereignty and Demilitarization, and then The Value of Hawaii 2, Ancestral Roots, Oceanic Versions, and as I just mentioned, one of the co-editors of the volume 3 of the series, Hulihia, which is out, I believe, next month. And we'll begin today with our provost, Michael Bruno.
Thank you, Peter. I guess I want to take in my initial remarks, take a broad view of the university, maybe beginning with a university and moving down to our own university and our role in the community. There is a strong desire to be engaged more strongly in the community and to see the work of developing new knowledge and perhaps even new technologies, that should be pushed out as quickly as possible for good use in society. When I came here to Mānoa, now 5 years ago, I was struck by how that thinking, that evolution of a university is here stronger than in any university, I would say, anywhere. This is the most community-facing university I have ever seen. When this state has an issue with homelessness, water rights, other social justice issues, when we have a volcano erupting, it's our faculty on the ground. It's our faculty advising state, local, federal officials. When we have a hurricane coming towards us, it is our faculty side by side with National Weather Service forecasters, our faculty on the news channels informing the public of the dangers. Sea level rise, it's our faculty who are doing the studies and designing projects to safeguard our communities from sea level rise and other impacts of climate change. It's our faculty that are, involved now in the pandemic. Right from the start, it was medical school students and faculty, nursing faculty and students, social work, public health, UHERO forecasters advising the legislature and the governor. We are all, I think, more and more reflecting on what the future holds for Hawaii and what the future holds for Hawaii's university, because we are the University of and for Hawaii. And I think not a day goes by now that we don't think about our place here and our role in coming through this pandemic together and positioning Hawaii for success after the pandemic leaves us, because it will. And you know, we think and we talk often about the jobs of the future. The fact is, we don't know what the jobs of the future will be. So I'm the engineer on the call, I'm the geek in the room. And so I think everybody thinks I'm going to say, well, it's high tech. We need more engineers. We need more computer scientists. I don't believe that's true. We need functioning citizens, ethical citizens who are creative and agile enough to change careers as careers change, because they will, and maybe they will more rapidly post-pandemic. But so we need to keep that in mind as we think of what the future university needs to be in order to be responsive to Hawaii. And
Craig, we introduced you. You have such a deep heritage here. I mean, in terms of your commitment to the university, to Hawaii, to this place. And so we're looking forward to hearing your reflections on Mānoa, the university, and whatever else you want to address in terms of the future.
Okay. Aloha mai kako. Michael is University Provost. Peter is Dean of the new College of Arts, Languages, and Letters. And Noelani is chair of the Political Science Department and co-founder of a school. Why am I here? I've decided it's only because I have been at the University of Hawaii longer than all three of them put together. Our topic is UH System Engine for Hawaii 2.0. I will suggest that rebooting Hawaii might benefit from looking at our original operating system, the American Land-Grant University System. I begin with two premises. First, that calling UH an engine perpetuates a common but fundamental misunderstanding of a land-grant university. Second, that over the years, so many viruses, updates, and patches have accumulated in the land-grant software that moving to 2.0 requires remembering what it was originally supposed to do. Ikalama kawa mahope. Noelani will talk about what understanding UH as a Hawaiian place of learning demands. Our talks overlap, but I will focus on how UH should meet its obligations as a Hawaii place of learning for the state and its people. That is, as a flagship land-grant university, and also what obligations Hawaii itself has to this institution. The University of Hawaii system is Hawaii's land-grant university. So the mission of such a university is to provide the highest level of training in all areas of knowledge with no field granted priority. When, therefore, anyone solemnly says that we can't be all things to all people, though we can understand how states of emergency or political pressure could provoke such a statement, we must recognize it as a total misunderstanding of the mission of a flagship land-grant university. Being all things to all citizens of Hawaii is what we are required and must aspire to be. We know that the University of Hawaii has a mandate to provide the highest level of education for all professionals and all curious, inquiring citizens. We know that the expertise and attitudes developed at UH have benefited and will continue to benefit our communities and economy, and as exports, our world. By never forgetting what UH is required to be, we can move more confidently forward, admitting our horrible mistakes, shortcomings, and internal conflicts along the way toward making it a more perfect flagship land-grant Hawaii place of learning. Ikawa mamua, kawa mahope.
Craig, thank you very much for that passionate advocacy on behalf of UH and for historical context about land grants and flagships. We really appreciate that. Both Michael and you have spoke to the uniqueness of UH as a university. And I think we can discuss that further. I've already introduced our distinguished last presenter, Noe, and we're looking forward to hearing from you, your reflections as well. Noe.
Velina ke aloha kākou, mai nā aina kupuna o Papahanau moku a kea a hiki I nā moku e hanau ia e pelehonua mea. Mai ka hikina a ka halawai, aloha nui kākou. Mahalo for inviting me. Mahalo for your facilitation, Peter, and mahalo to my esteemed fellow panelists for that wonderful talk, the wonderful talks that you've given. So I'm going to try to, with the time I have, cover three kind of main points. One is to speak to why UH is important to local families, to speak to why UH is important in the massive transitions that we need to make here in Hawaii in the coming generation. And then to kind of reflect a bit about how the undergraduate core in particular might address some of these issues. You know, I've had non-traditional students who are in their 60s and 70s returning to school, right? I've had folks who are formerly incarcerated who are now earning degrees. There are so many different kinds of people who come to the university wanting to make some sort of improvement or change in their life, in their community, and they take all kinds of different pathways. And anytime we sort of, to connect to the point that Craig was making about, well, we can't be all things to all people, anytime that we close off, you know, one kind of department or another, we close off the opportunities for local people who might otherwise not be able to seek higher education in those fields and potentially then would not even seek degrees. We really need to, you know, keep pushing for the political will in our communities to keep the university an affordable place for our young people, because that's where the brain drain begins. Once our you know, our young folks leave to go away to school, oftentimes they don't come back. We need to really think about how the university can continue to push forward and prepare young people for all of these transitions that need to take place. And as has already been said, these are complex social problems, right? So I think about when I teach Hawaii politics, I think about with my students this challenge of energy transition, that we need to make this shift to renewable energies within their lifetimes, within one single generation. Historically, you know, the institution was complicit, if not an active participant, in the dismantling of indigenous agricultural systems and the replacement of that with a monocrop agricultural system here in Hawaii. So how can we really grapple with that history and then take responsibility for that by being part of what is going to be probably a multi-generational transition back to a more sustainable and diverse agricultural system where we're not relying upon you know, exports for 95% of our food. That we've put ourselves in a very precarious position, and we need to be a part of that solution.
Noah, do you want to add anything? I mean, I was really struck that your family and your own lives have been intertwined with the history of the university. And you know, as somebody, you know, who is Kanaka Maoli and also, you know, deep, you know, whole life has been part of the university, what you think are the most important areas that the university needs to move in? And you've talked about some of the accomplishments and enormous changes in your lifetime the university has undergone, but do you have particular areas you'd like to see more work done on? So, I mean, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I think the part about us being the university being an indigenous serving university and a Hawaiian place of learning is aspirational, right? There's so much more work to be done there. I think when I look at my department, which is you know, political science, we have We have 3 Native Hawaiian faculty, which to some people in my college and maybe on campus seems like a lot. That's representative to our proportion in the population. And what has resulted in that is that we attract a lot of Native Hawaiian students at various levels. And so I think if we can move toward the recommendations that have been made by numerous, task force groups over time to really have more Kanaka faculty, that will go a long way towards making the university an Indigenous serving and a Hawaiian place of learning.